Richard Harrison. I'm a monitoring, evaluation, and learning advisor in the humanitarian development space. I had been thinking about the idea of a cross-cutting listening device for community well-being for years as a monitor, evaluation, learning guy. And then my wife saw something about Loop online, and I clicked on it, and I felt this is exactly what I hoped existed. So I wrote to Alex immediately, and she kindly wrote right back. We got talking, and yeah, she kindly invited me to the advisory board, and it's been a massive pleasure and privilege to be involved in Loop's journey. Of course, I'm very, very sad and frustrated that the hibernation is happening. But I massively believe in Loop. I massively believe that the world needs a tool, a lens, an authentic lens on community well-being. The main reason for me is I spent 20-something years asking questions to community members, and I believe strongly that in order to encourage and facilitate people with less power to tell the truth of their situation honestly and openly, you need an objective and independent mechanism. No one is going to bite the hand that feeds them, and these communities have super strong bonds, often all the stronger because things are so hard. And so for me, the idea of an individual living in a community and knowing something bad is happening, whether it's to do with aid diversion or sexual misconduct, you need to put in place a mechanism that is credible. And if I, as a person in a community, plan to report, if I want to report a bad thing, am I ever going to report to the implementer? That is fraught with different kinds of risk. Are they going to believe me? They're the people that deliver the thing. Am I going to increase the chances of the aid stopping and hurting my community? These are absolutely enormous points, and we can dismiss them if we want to. But because they're kind of invisible, their importance has been lost. And so Loop is hibernating. But for me, you have to have an authentic, sensible, common sense, ground-based, arm's length check on how people are feeling, what are they seeing, and for me, no bilateral implementer-based mechanism can possibly work. Immediately comes to mind recent scandals, and we're talking about tens of thousands of people waking up every day and going to work to do a good job. These institutions, INGOs, NGOs, grassroots, other institutions are all full of amazing people wanting to do good work. And so the opportunity to know what harm is being done, I am sure, is priceless to all of them. The ability to get up in the morning knowing that what you're doing isn't creating harm. I mean, the humanitarian principles which underpin supposedly everything we do, unless we can measure that, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, they say. And that applies here just as much. So that's the human element. But also just simply, I'll be callous and say funding. Like, why are donors not insisting that the effect of their work of implementers is not measured in a protective sense. This would be funding Loop properly is a rounding error. It's nothing against even a project budget, never mind humanitarian budgets writ large. And the amount of money that it would take to provide a view on whether or not, projects are being run according to humanitarian principles. This should be surely reassuring for all institutions, all implementers, to show to their donors so they can say, fund me, we're not doing harm. We're conflict aware, genuinely. Because again, I don't believe that any data which is generated through the brand of that mechanism is anywhere near as credible as Loop is. Think about before Amazon or before TripAdvisor or before Uber. You may love or not love these products, but 20 years ago, the idea of having a collective space where we all agreed how good something was, whether it was a product or a holiday or an experience in a taxiing around. I think we all could have said that we'd never get the producers together, we'd never get the hotels together. It was never really, I feel like when I speak to people who run hotels, actually they kind of love TripAdvisor because it shows how good they are, and it's increased, it's really heightened the bar. And I feel like if you'd spoken to hotel managers 20 years ago, they would have maybe sounded reluctant. It took a few visionaries to realize that that barrier is surmountable, that Loop just would need a few years of decent funding to transition from, yes, what would be a number of pilots initially, to a true global window, a dashboard for donors in which bad things happening could be foretold. We wouldn't spend so much time writing about scandals furiously and angrily. We would spend time spotting them as soon as they started becoming a problem, whether it's a diversion or sexual misconduct or whatever. Loop is the lens on that happening globally in the future. I just really hope that Loop comes back, and I think it's a litmus test. It's a bellwether for the health of the sector. I feel that if we are genuinely, authentically wanting to put a light in a measured way, to shine a light on the effect we're having and the tough things, the bad things that are happening around aid, then there is no possible better solution than Loop. I just feel that it is by design objective to the vulnerable person thinking about reporting. It is obviously more convenient and safe. And if Loop gets multi-donor funding on a number of years, I have no doubt that in 3 to 5 years, it will grow into something that all humanitarian workers use, refer to, and sleep easier, that what they're doing is having a positive effect, and they know about any negative effect as an essential part of implementation.